Hi everybody and welcome back to the Cupcake Jemma channel with me, Sally, and welcome to the Crumbs and Doilies kitchen here in Soho. Now, as promised, today I am going to show you how to make a cereal milk Tres Leches cake. You guys absolutely adored the Tres Leches cake that we did a few weeks ago now, and so many of you are still making it, sending us your photos, telling us how much you loved it and how you were, like me, a little bit unsure of it because, you know, it's a lot of milk going into a cake, but how much you absolutely adored it, and all your friends and family were the same. So I have been making this a lot recently, and I thought I've got to switch it up a bit, you know, I've got to change it rather than just putting different toppings on it. Let's change the flavor of it completely. And as it's got so much milk in it, like, what's better than milk? Well, cereal milk, which is like one of my favorite things ever. It's amazing. I made it for some friends and they just said to me, it tastes like the bottom of a cereal bowl. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted it to taste like. So the first thing that we need to do is make our milk taste like cereal. So obviously we need some cereal. So here I have got 100 grams of cornflakes, and to that I'm gonna add a few secret ingredients. So I've got 25 grams of caster sugar or granulated sugar. I've got 25 grams of horlicks, which is a malt drink powder, and I've got 60 grams of melted unsalted butter, and we're going to go with a little pinch of salt. And once the cornflakes are completely covered with your buttery mixture, we're actually going to bake them, because just like if you were toasting some nuts or seeds or something, toasting these cornflakes is going to pull out all their flavour and it's going to make them taste more cereally. So grab yourself a baking tray and spread out your cornflakes. And then we're going to put these in a low oven. So I've got mine set to 140°C. We've got it low because we don't want to completely cook and burn these. We just want to give them a light toast. We're going to put them in for 10 minutes, giving them a little shuffle after about 5. So I know they still just look like cornflakes, but let me tell you, they smell amazing. And once these cool down, this is the best snack in the world. So what we need to do now is mix up our milk. So I'm just gonna pop the cornflakes behind me here. And into this bowl, I'm gonna mix my 3 milks, my Tres Leches. So we have got 150 grams of evaporated milk, along with 250 grams of condensed milk, and finally about 6 tablespoons of whole milk. And once your 3 milks have combined, we're gonna grab back the cornflakes. We're gonna do this whilst they're warm, because again, you get more flavor out of them when they're warm, and we're gonna pour half of them into this bowl. So your remaining cornflakes are going to be the topping of your Tres Leches cake, and when they cool down, you've got to try one because they are absolutely amazing. You might actually want to make double the amount of cornflakes, because once you've had one you won't be able to stop. Sam did actually just grab a cheeky handful then, which is fine because I've got plenty here. Anyway, next we're going to pour our milk over our cornflakes. So now all we need to do is leave this to steep. Ideally, you'd want to do this overnight. So this part of the recipe, if you've got time to do it the night before so that your milk is as cornflakey as it can be. So we're going to leave those behind me and we'll get on with making our actual cake. So the first thing to talk about is our dish. So last time I made this in the enamel dish, but also ceramic and glass dishes work absolutely perfectly. Glass ones are great because you get to see the layers, but the most important thing to remember when you're making a Tres Leches cake is to only grease the bottom of your dish. If you put any butter or grease around the sides, once your cake's baked, it's going to have a tendency to pull in from the edges, and we don't want that to happen. So just butter at the bottom, and then we're going to leave that to one side, and we're going to get on with splitting 3 eggs. So we'll have our egg yolks and our egg whites separately. So we're gonna leave the egg whites to one side for now and focus on the yolks. So to your 3 egg yolks, what you need to do is add 90 grams of caster sugar. And using my hand whisk, I'm gonna whip these up until they're pale and fluffy. Only took about 3 minutes, and you can see how pale they have gone. The sugar started to dissolve, which means we can start adding the rest of our ingredients. So I've got 85 grams of plain flour and 1 full teaspoon of baking powder to give our cake a little bit of lift, and about 1/4 teaspoon of some salt. And then grab yourself a spatula and we're going to stir these together to make a paste. And lastly, to this paste, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of whole milk and a little splash of vanilla extract, and then you want to stir all of those through. And next up, what we need to do is whip up our egg whites. So our 3 egg whites in here, using the whisk attachment again, and we're going to go for a soft peak. And once your egg whites are fluffy and at soft peak stage like this, so they're not holding stiff peaks, they're a little bit floppy, we're going to add 30 grams of sugar gradually as we continue to whisk. And then we just want to keep whisking this until they get a little bit stiffer. I'll show you what we want them to look like. So if we switch this off and I pull up my whizzers, you can see that they're holding their little peaks there. They're nice and wiggly, and that is exactly how we want them. So now what we need to do is we need to fold the egg whites into our paste. So what we're going to do first is just a little bit at a time, just to loosen the paste up. And once that first dollop of egg whites is completely combined with your paste, we're going to add the rest of it in 2 lots, folding and stirring very gently in between. And you can see I'm using this metal spoon. A lot of people were asking why we fold with a metal spoon, and that is because it's got a much sharper, thinner edge than a wooden spoon or a spatula, which means that we're less likely to kind of burst all our lovely eggy bubbles, which is what's creating the air in our cake. So in we go with another load of egg white. And as usual, just be patient with that egg white, just folding really slowly. It will eventually all fold through and you'll be left with this delicious, light, fluffy kind of batter that we're now going to pour into our dish. And once it's all in, just give it a little level out. It's quite a liquidy batter, so you won't need to do too much of this. And then it's time to bake it. So we've got the oven set to 170 degrees C, that's fan assisted. We're gonna put it in for about 20 minutes. It's gonna rise up beautifully. And then to test it, we'll do the standard skewer in the middle. If it comes out clean, it is done. And I'll give you further instructions once we get there. If it comes out with a bit of goo on, just leave it in for another couple of minutes until the skewer comes out clean. Okay, so the cake has baked. It took 20 minutes and the skewer came out clean. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually turning the oven off and I'm gonna leave the door open just a crack, just to let the cake cool down gently. It's a little bit like a meringue. You don't wanna take it out straight away because it will deflate too far. So we're gonna leave it in for 10 minutes and then we'll get pouring our milk on. Okay, so my cake has cooled down for 10 minutes in the oven, but it's still warm, which is the perfect time to be pouring our milk. So the first thing we need to do is stab lots of holes over it, and I'm going to use a fork, but you can use a skewer as well, so just stab it all over. And now obviously we need to sieve or strain our cornflakes because we don't want any of the actual cornflakes in it. So grab yourself a bowl and a sieve, and we're just going to strain off the milk and the cornflakes. And just squish it through as much as possible so that you get as much of the liquid off. I'm just going to stop there so that we can crack on, and I'm actually going to try and transfer this to a jug, and then we're going to pour it all over the cake. And as you can see, it's started to soak in already, but it is a big kind of layer of the milk on top. So what we're gonna do is leave this to cool down completely, and then once it's cool, ideally you're gonna wrap it and put it in the fridge until tomorrow. But I understand that's a long time to wait, so just a couple of hours will do. It's just to soften that sponge up and make sure that it's all tasting like one delicious cereal milky cake. But do not fear, guys, I made one earlier, and you can see how the cake has soaked up all of our liquid. It smells great, it looks really moist and delicious. So now we're just going to top this off really simply with some cream that I whipped up earlier. I've just got double cream, and this time I haven't actually put any sugar in it. I just want to keep it quite plain because we're going to get the cornflakes on top, adding loads of sweetness. And now if you manage to make it this far without eating the rest of those crispy, delicious cornflakes, we're going to cover this cream with our cornflakes. And I think that looks pretty awesome. I know how good this tastes though, so you've got to trust me again, guys. You trusted me before, and this is even better. So I'm gonna serve myself up a huge piece of cereal milk Tres Leches. Oh my goodness. I mean, before I eat this, just take a look at that sponge. It is perfect, and it is all completely soaked in our cereal milk. Okay, here we go. It honestly tastes just like the best part of your breakfast when you're slurping up that cornflakey sweet milk. Oh, this is so, so good, and it really does remind me of that soft serve over in America at Milk Bar. So if you like that and you like Tres Leches, this is gonna absolutely win your hearts. I think this is, I say this all the time that this is my new favorite cake, but it is my new favorite cake. And I was telling Gemma that I was gonna make this for you lot, and she actually demanded that I make one and take it directly to her house. So I'll be doing that later on today. But in the meantime, I hope you love this recipe. Keep on sharing your photos with us over on Instagram using #CupcakeJemma so we can all see and share your photos. And subscribe to our channel, there's a little button down there. And thanks so much for watching, and thank you to Sam, as always, for filming and editing, along with all the million other jobs that he does here at Crumbs and Doilies, and for leaving me some cornflakes. Like, he has literally been eating these the entire way through the video. Yes, you have. So we'll see you next week with another recipe for you, and enjoy. I'm just gonna keep on eating my 2 Tres Leches cakes.